Hi, Stuart. I have a question.
Well,
Can you talk a little bit about the space between hearing a judgment and reacting to it?
well, look, it's hard to get rejected if you build inside yourself uh, a connection with higher energy and you find your own self-worth as a human being. And, when people do things like reject you, they just bounce off you because you have literally found in yourself the value of who you are as a human being. And it's not your problem. They just, those things just bounce off you. And I think that's the key to learning how to deal with rejection is building yourself, developing a chakra system that is strong enough to stay connected with higher energy in the universe. And in that connection, you feed the heart, you feed, the mind with wisdom, you have chi power inside yourself. And in that connection, there's no rejection. You absolutely live in the value of your own self-worth. And I don't mean ego. I mean, your sense of connected with a higher energy force in the universe that's nurturing you all the time. Your ability to see what is real in life and what is an illusion. And your ability not to be upset because people say something that you don't like. They reject you. I mean, if I with all the things I've heard about me that people don't like, I mean, I'd be living in some hole somewhere, if I allowed it to affect me. But having this deep sense of my purpose in life and what I do in life, and having seen how far it's taken me in my life and how far it takes other people if they really do it, you know, uh, there's no room for rejection. There's no room for me to ever feel the insult of somebody rejecting me. So I wouldn't even look at the other person, because sometimes we reach out to people that know how to do only they know how to do is reject others. They're so insecure in themselves that they just reject and try to hurt other people. But if you build the kind of inner life I'm talking about, how do you? There's no way of getting rejected. If your heart's open, there's love inside you. You're a happy person inside. Understand? It doesn't matter what anybody says about you. It really doesn't. So the answer to the question is not blaming the other person. It is, okay, I'm susceptible to that kind of weakness. I'm susceptible to other people's opinions about the way I live and who I am. I need to get stronger. I need to get to a place of myself where nobody's opinion will affect me that way, where I'm so confident in what I do as a human being that, rejection just bounces off. Can't afford to get involved in the depression, the unhappiness that people have when they get rejected all the time and they don't have the kind of inner life that I'm talking about. So I wouldn't blame the other person. I would say, look, I have work to do on me, and I can build an inner life that truly enables me to live with my heart open, with love, with joy, and have the power and the strength inside myself to sustain that. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. And we don't have to spend our lives pleasing other people. That's also a hard one, where people make so many demands on us that we have to spend every minute of our life pleasing them. And, there's a way of functioning in the world where you don't hurt other people, you don't reject other people, you embrace them, you learn from them, you grow because of who they are and what they teach you. And there's gratitude, even people that reject us. And I always repeat this. So they're telling us that we need to do something about growing in ourselves. And then we stop blaming the world and we have that capacity to function here on a very wonderful level. And sometimes the people that are the closest to us are the first ones who reject us. That kind of closeness is so scary to instead of embracing it and loving it, and they get into all this other kind of behavior. You know? Family, you have everybody's opinion about how you should live.
Stuart, can I ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
So when you embrace them, do you feel more like oneness with them? Because when I get a judgment from someone, I notice I will start separating, like I'm me, you're you, and I'm doing my, like I just try
No,
to,
first of all, you don't have to embrace that.
mm,
You understand? You just forgive them for their indiscretion. And you just have the strength inside yourself to where it doesn't bother you. You are so completely clear about your mission in life and what you're doing in life and your ability to love and to forgive, and that none of it bothers you. It's their problem. And you don't have to embrace them. You don't have to embrace somebody who's going to hurt you all the time, try to hurt you all the time. But you have to be able to forgive them, and you have to be strong enough in yourself not to allow the little nonsense things they say to you to affect you. It doesn't mean you have to hang out with them all day. I don't mean that. But it's your own self-worth, your own value you have for your own life, for your vision of how you want to live and your life. You know how many times I've heard in my life, you're crazy. What do you do? You must be crazy doing what you do. Just bounces off of me. Well, I know what I do, and I know how clearly it has given me my life and how I watch it give other people their life. So I don't need to have other people justify what I do. I don't need their opinions about what I do. I can have an intelligent conversation with them about different things, and I can listen to them and maybe fix things. But when people just almost want to hurt you, rejecting the way you live and who you are, I mean, once you have that security in yourself, it just bounces off. It doesn't matter what they say. So the whole secret to this is building that kind of inner security. And the best way to build that kind of inner security is a connection with higher energy in the universe, building that kind of strength. And that kind of strength will make your vision of how you want to live very clear to yourself. And less and less people will bug you about it. I hope that's clear, Nancy. I mean, it's not easy to do. It's like literally changing your whole inner life, but it's certainly worth the effort. Otherwise, you always are living in the shadow of other people's opinions, and they create a nightmare inside you. And once you get that clarity about the way you want to live, it doesn't matter what anybody says. I always thought the worst profession in the world would be a critic of other human beings, works of art and playwrights and this and that, theater, to criticize. you know,
Stuart, would you talk about what you mean by strengthening the chakra system to be in more contact with the divine energies?
well, the answer is very simple, Stefan. Our connection with higher energy in the universe takes place because we have developed a chakra system inside ourselves. Where's the chakra system? It's here, the throat, the heart. You understand? The chakra below the navel, the foundation, the sex, the base of the spine, and the crown chakra. You develop those areas in yourself. The first thing you're doing is developing your humanity. First thing that comes is we learn to live here like human beings. We learn how to love. We learn how to feel joy. We learn how to feel compassion. We learn how to not, allow other people's opinions to drive us crazy. We get a clear vision of how we want to live in the world. And that vision is not, like with blinders. It's a vision, it's like the tree of life growing infinitely and embracing the cosmos. We develop all of these elements as the chakra system develops. And then it goes from, the human to the spiritual. We learn how to consciously use sexual energy to transform ourselves, to activate Kundalini. And, we activate the rocket ship that connects us to higher energy in the universe. But we need to learn how to do all these things. Other than if we don't learn this, we have just a lot of chaos in ourselves. Mind never shuts off. All this emotional stuff, sexual energy. I mean, we all have the local insane asylum in ourselves until we learn how to fix it. How do you learn how to fix it? You got to build chi. You got to build the foundation, ground yourself. You got to open the heart. The heart's the seat of love. Without love, how do you have a spiritual life? You got to quiet the mind because all of that, chit chat and yakking that goes on in the brain, it eats our energy up. Once we quiet it, we begin to receive knowledge, wisdom. We get all the higher energies can come in and teach us. So these are the chakras, and we need to learn how to master them because these chakras are a direct link to higher energy, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. And they're a direct link to our humanity. So it works on many levels at the same time. And it's an ancient, ancient form of inner work. I mean, you see it in, like when I was in the art business years ago, I used to get these paintings, these Hindu paintings of chakra systems, you know? And I always found them very interesting and very, I love the vision of them. And it's only after I started studying with Rudy that I began to learn what that was all about, what they were trying to teach people that would come to their ashrams, their center, wherever they used to teach. And it's twofold. It's learning to be human and learning how to open our humanity to a spiritual life. That's what the chakras are about. And learning to use the mind and the breath are the tools that we are born with that will enable this process to take place. We don't have to go to the hardware store to get the tools. We're born with them. We all have minds, we all have breath, we all have need, we have will. We have to learn how to use these tools consciously to develop the chakra system and then develop a link with this higher. And that gives us the security to live here as human beings.
Thank you.
I mean, when I was younger, look, today any 9-year-old kid can talk to you about chakras. When I was a kid, who knew anything about Kundalini, chakras? I'll never forget. I was working as a kind of soda jerk and a counterman in a coffee shop on 59th Street and Lexington Avenue in Manhattan. And the manager of the coffee shop was a Puerto Rican guy who was a Buddhist. And he and I would sit down in the back on our break and we would talk about spiritual things. And one day he said to me, looked at me with a whisper, "You know anything about Kundalini?" So I said, "What the hell is Kundalini?" I had no idea what he's talking about. The second time I heard the word Kundalini, and this is a true story. I love this story. I was living in Paris, and I was living on the left bank in Paris, and I had lots of artsy and friends and druggies and artsy friends. And I had this one friend who proclaimed to have a deep need for spirituality. And one day he and I were walking through these tiny streets on the left bank, and 3 o'clock in the morning, we're both stoned. And he gets down on his hands and knees and he raises his arms up in the sky and he says, "Oh, sacred Kundalini in the sky." Second time I heard the word Kundalini. And the third time I heard the word Kundalini, I'm sitting with Rudy and he said, "You know what kind of meditation you practice?" So I said, "Rudy, I don't care what it's called. I know it works. That's the only thing I know." He said, "You do Kundalini yoga." He said, "But don't worry about it. I was teaching this 10 years and somebody came up to me and said, 'You know what kind of meditation you teach?' It works." I said, "You teach Kundalini yoga." So what's in a word? So what I'm saying is that I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, it's a great story.
Mhm.
Does anyone else have a question? Imagine teaching something for 10 years and not knowing the name of what you teach and seeing it give life and how people respond. That was really something. He told me that. I tell you, I gave up having to understand anything. The question is, does it work? Not what it's called. Does it work? Yeah. Does anyone else have a question? Okay, if there are no more questions, As I said at the beginning of the class, there's one open spot. So if you're thinking about coming to a retreat, make a quick decision, because when that's full, then I have to put everybody on a waiting list. So if you want to come and you have a need to be there, make a quick decision and let me know. We'll let Jennifer know. Okay, there'll be meditate. There'll be is that an echo? There'll be meditation. We'll see you on Tuesday. So what is today's Tuesday?
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you
See you
very
all
much.
Thursday.
God bless you.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
Thank you.